Hello everyone and welcome to Suzuka, the international racing course for round 3 of the GPVWC World GT Championship of 2018. And today, of course, as I said, we're at the Figure of 8 circuit, the Suzuka International Racing course with these GT3 cars that we've been racing for the whole season so far. And we've just seen the first lap of qualifying being set. It's a 156.827 from Chris Shepherd. That's really not far off what he set in practice, and he was actually top of the order there. So Chris Shepherd, definitely a driver to look out for in his McLaren. His McLaren run by I think that's Stax Racing Team. Yeah, in fact, the two Stax Racing cars at the top at the minute with Nico Barkley in second. So a good start to qualifying for that team there. Just trying to have a look at the driver's standings so far. If my computer will play ball, I believe it's Kevin Ryan leading the championship so far, but I'm not actually sure where he is in the session at the minute. He's just left the pits for the first time in his Bentley, so he'll be setting his first lap in a little while as the times continue to tumble. Osvaldo Angeloni puts his car fifth, and after we've already seen 25 laps from these 37 drivers, the top 5 are Shepherd, Barclay, Schumblier, Franchik and Angeloni. And I must apologise to Schumblier actually, because I spent the whole of the last broadcast thinking that he was female, which is not the case. But I don't know what got into my head there. Hopefully I won't be saying that again this week. Anyway, but yeah, Schumblier running third position in that Mercedes there, and then the rest of the top 10 taken up by Capet, Lopez, Kastorp, White, and Brugman. I just noticed delivery on Mark White's car actually. I'm not sure I've seen that one before. Of course, last time I couldn't see any of the deliveries due to a glitch. But anyway, you'll notice Niels Brugman actually in 10th position in a brand new car. That is the Rowan GP Mercedes, which was not an entry to the last couple of races. Rowan GP, of course, the team run by Tristan Potters, who is racing himself, but for a different team. He's racing for Aurora Motorsports, but he's entered his own team, and the irony behind that is that one of his drivers, of course, Niels Brugman, is ahead of him in the server so far. So Niels Brugman is currently 11th, Tristan Potters is currently 12th, and the other driver in IDOS is that's Mike Bell, and Mike Bell is currently, I don't think he's set a lap yet. So in fact I can't actually see him in the server, so hopefully he can get whatever issues he's having sorted in time. Oh no, he's in 25th position at the minute, currently in the pits. So that's Mike Bell for the minute. The times seem quite varied actually. It seems like the representative lap times stretch from 1:56s all the way down to 2-minute 02s. So a real mix of lap times here, but it's still close up the front of the order, with the top 6 separated by less than half a second, and the top 9 separated by less than a second. So it's still a close session. Just looking at the championship table because it's finally loaded for me. Indeed, Kevin Ryan has won both of the races so far this season to dominate the start of the championship, but Risto Capet isn't far behind, finishing second in both races. In third in the championship is Arne Schumblier, followed by Nico Barkley, Fran Lopez, Borja Milan, Ricardo Costa, Alan Terzic, Matthias Bogerts, and Chris Shepherd. Those are the top 10 in this championship out of the 44 drivers who have raced so far, and the 37 drivers rather in this session. And the championship table looks like, well, we've got Simtech Motorsport at the top, Bentley, followed by ACR Zaxby, then Mercedes. Street Fighter Racing Systems, I believe that's a Corvette. Then we have Stax in the McLaren. Adonis, what is Adonis? I think Adonis is also a Mercedes. I'm just having a look at that. I can't actually see. Of course, I missed the first round of the championship, so I'm still getting used to some of these teams. After them, Epic Racing Team, and then Mad Cape, McKinley, Velez, and Racing Team Schroden make up the top 10 out of the 19 teams we've seen so far in the championship, and we've added another team for this racing course in Rowan GP, who are standing in for another team who's pulled out, and I'm not entirely sure who that is. We do have another team which has just pulled out, and we weren't expecting this, but unfortunately Downforce Racing has pulled out of this particular race because their drivers have been having various issues. Jake Sanson, I'm afraid, was going to race but has had various computer issues, and as a result isn't able to race, and I don't believe the other drivers racing either. That was going to be Lorenzo Filipakos, but I haven't seen Filipakos in the server yet, so no race for Downforce, I'm afraid to say. Anyway, still the top of the order taken up by Shepherd and Barclay. That hasn't changed. Neither have Schumblier or Franchik or Angeloni behind them, for that matter. That's all in the same order that they were in before, with the same lap times, so no times really tumbling at the front of the order, and we haven't really got that much time left in the session, just over 5 minutes. Angeloni's just come through again, but not set a quicker lap. So still we have time left to be found, and the track doesn't appear to be getting much quicker very quickly. So possibly the track getting a bit colder or something like that. But whatever the case, no one setting a lap for a little while. Just getting up the live timing to confirm that. Well, I tell you what, Schumblier is on a quicker lap. He's just set the fastest second sector of anyone, as Capit moves up to second, but Schumblier is on a quick lap as well. Schumblier with the fastest first sector of anyone, that's what I meant. Out of the final corner, and does put it to second place, so an even quicker lap than Capit's there, put Schumblier to be the leading Mercedes for now. It's Shepherd, Schumblier, Capit, Barclay, Franchik, top 5. And Shepherd actually just improved his lap there, so Shepherd with a 1:56.554, so the times have started to fall again. Now, who's going to be next to better their lap? Well, Yuri Kazdorf is going quicker than his in the first sector in his Callaway-looking Corvette. His Callaway Corvette, rather. Just exiting the second sector now. What will that time be like? It's quicker still. So Kazdorf on it. Oh, he spun. Never mind. 130R. So he was going quicker than his personal best, but he spins it away at 130R. I'm just looking back on the replay because I was looking down as that happened to see the sector times. Just looked like he turned around and it swapped ends on him. That was a bit bizarre actually, because you don't normally expect to see a car losing it without the car getting too high up on the curb, or without getting touched from behind or anything like that, but it didn't appear to be the case. Maybe he tagged the grass slightly on turn in, but whatever the case, that's that lap over for Yuri Kazdorf, and he's just gone back to the pit, next to the pit again, to go for another attempt. Naranjan Kumar has just put in a fast first sector, not a first fast sector. That's what I was going to say, and it's quick in the second sector as well. So Kumar is going quickly in his McLaren. He's currently in 13th position, hoping to put himself further up the order, as we've got about 2.5 minutes now remaining in this session. And Kumar does improve his lap, goes up to 10th. Now let's watch Matteo Caruso in the Radical, because Caruso set the fastest first sector of any driver on this lap. The second sector has not been great. In fact, he's at a different part of the track, so that shows to me that he's actually not on a lap, and there's been some sort of glitch with the timing screen. I believe he abandoned back to pits, and this is his out lap, so ignore me. So Caruso obviously showing that there's more time to be gained, as he was fastest in the first sector, but is now just going round to start his first. Nope. Well, that second sector time appeared to count there, so whatever's going on, I don't know, but let's watch Matteo Caruso just in case this is an actual lap as he exits the final corner. Does it count? We'll see. Oh, my word, it does! And it puts him second. So Matteo Caruso, that was not an out lap, that was a real lap. The timing screen was messing up for me. And Matteo Caruso in the Radical with a 156.711 jumps from 8th to 2nd with a fastest first sector of anyone and some quick second and third sectors as well. He's going to go for one last attempt at the lap now to see if he can demote Chris Shepherd for the lead. We don't usually expect the Radical to be quite that quick, but obviously going for the top of the order and has taken it for now. Well, no, hasn't. He's gone to 2nd, which is the front row of the grid. And Epic Racing in the YouTube chat shouts Caruso, and that's very understandable. Very exciting lap that was. Talking of the YouTube chat, hello to everyone tuning into to the YouTube stream today. We're live on the GPVWC Simracing channel. I can see many names I recognise in the chat there. And Downforce UK has just given an update. They say we will attempt to start the race with one car for Lazarus Philippakos, as I said, but Jake Sanson is out of the race for good. So it's a shame to hear about Jake, but hopefully Lazarus can make it in. Now we've had a very quick second sector for Alan Terzic. So Terzic, actually quickest of anyone in the second sector, is 9th in the session at the minute, and at this rate he could be on for pole. So let's see what this is for Alan Terzic. Out of the final corner he comes now, and is there an improvement from the Mercedes driver? This will be a good one. It's second. Oh my word, less than a 10th of a second off Shepherd. What a lap that was from Terzic to put him on the front row of the grid, but it's not quite pole. And now Shepherd's in the pit, so he's not going to go any quicker. And of course, Terzic just finished that lap outside of the time limit. The checkered flag has flown. Caruso is not on a quicker lap, and he's in the pits again. So Caruso not going any quicker there. Schumblé and Capit are both on laps of their own, though. Capit slightly quicker so far. Who's ahead on track? It's Capit. So let's watch Risto Capit as he is, well, probably still in contention for pole here. He's only 5th in the order at the minute, but his best lap is only 0.2 of a second off the leader. That's how close the front of the order has been so far, with the top 10 drivers separated by less than a second, and the top 8 separated by less than half a second here. And Capit and Schumblé are both still going for pole position here, with Capit just rounding. Oh, and Nico Barclay, actually. Let's watch Nico Barclay first, because he just puts his car to 3rd position. Brilliant lap from Barclay to put him to 3rd position there. And can Capit or Schumblé demote him for that position? Here comes Capit out of the final corner in the ACR Zach Speed Mercedes across the line, and it's pole! Fantastic lap! He's 0.06 of a second ahead of Chris Shepherd. Risto Capit puts his car to pole position. What about Schumblé? Schumblé crosses the line, and Schumblé goes pole. So Schumblé, Capit celebrated, we saw, but he celebrated too early as Arne Schumblé crosses the line and takes pole position in the other Mercedes. The Mercedes appears to be the car to have, with 3 of the top 4 drivers driving the Mercedes AMG GT3. It's Schumblé who takes pole today, followed by Capit, Shepherd, Terzic, Barclay, Caruso, Angeloni, Milan, Franchik, Kumar, Lopez, Kasdorp, Bogarts. Is Bogarts still on a lap? He is, but it's not a quick one. I don't believe anyone is going to go quicker. I think that's very much it. It's Bogarts 13th, then Schultz, Veit, and then outside of the point scoring position, so 16th and down, we have Potters, Brugman, De Los Rios, Morby, Schroten, Bell, Carlsvad, Long, Nizio, Clip, Lapetit, Metcalf, Josef, Asa Klimt, Nichols, Helpat, Frith, Willis, Ridder, Philippakos, and then Kevin Ryan, who didn't settle up there in the end. So that was a very exciting qualifying session, decided on the last possible opportunity, on the last possible lap to go the way of Arne Schumblé. And that's that for this session. So we will have a short warm-up session now, about 10 minutes before we go for the race. 1 hour 30 of racing, about a Grand Prix length in terms of time rather than distance. Just looking through the YouTube chats as well. Alex Skinner's here, the team boss of the IDOS GP team, but the IDOS GP team has now been renamed for this event for the first time. They have teamed up with the Schubert Racing team, who of course are a very successful GT team, racing VLN, racing ADAC GT Masters, racing Blancpain briefly, racing the 24-hour series. Fantastic to have proper racing teams, proper professional racing teams coming in and teaming up with our sim racing teams here. And IDOS will from now on be known as Schubert Motorsports official esports team. They of course have the drivers Peter Schultz and Alistair Long in this race, and it still says IDOS in the session here. So late was the call, but they will be known as Schubert. A couple of drivers asking for their laps to be removed. Fabian Ruda was one of them. I think there was another driver. I didn't see who else there was. And that is, of course, because if the race steward looks over your laps again after the event and finds that you've cut the track limits, then you get a back of the grid penalty for the next race. So no driver risks it. And if they think they've gone over the line, well, no driver should risk it. And if they think they've gone over the line, then they can ask for their lap to be removed to prevent them from getting a penalty at the next race. Does mean that they lose their lap for this race, of course, but sometimes it's just worth it. Also in the YouTube chat, Jeffrey Fournier, currently second in the Super League Championship. Great results so far this season, especially your win in Australia. Fantastic. I see Godona, the livery designer. Sander Palu vlogging at Charlie. Brussels with a nice creeper icon there. That is a creeper from Minecraft. He's not an actual creeper. Saying, I recognise some driver names in here. Cool. Yeah, we have some big names in this series. Always have done. Great to see. Looking down the order, we've got champions from all sorts of different series. Risto Capit, he's won the Masters series before. Nico Barclay, he's well known in endurance racing. And Schumble, I'm pretty sure, has done some endurance racing at a pretty high level before as well. Osvaldo Angeloni, currently second, I believe, in our no, not second anymore in the Formula Challenge Series, but was for a very long time. So he's right up there. Franchek is a well-known name. Kazdorp is a well-known name, especially in endurance racing, as Peter Schultz and Mark Veit. Niels Brugman won a couple of Super Cup races a few years ago. Of course, the brother of Lars Brugman, who won the championship, I think, in 2013. And then we have plenty more big names throughout the series as well. Of course, last time out we had Dennis Lind racing at Bathurst, and of course Dennis Lind actually set pole position in the real Blancpain GT Asia Series race from Sepang just last weekend, actually. So fantastic result there for Dennis Lind. One thing that's just been brought to my attention as well is just how much of a bad session Kevin Ryan had, our current championship leader. In fact, I don't believe he even set a lap. Looking down the order now, I'm not sure he did. So, whatever happened to Kevin Ryan, I'm not entirely sure. I think I commented on that initially, but didn't quite register what it meant. But Kevin Ryan, our championship leader, will be starting a long way down the order. Indeed, he didn't set a lap in the session. So, Kevin Ryan really struggling today. It might have been that he had a back of the grid penalty. I'm just going to double check that. Let's have a look. So we had a couple of back of the grid penalties from Bathurst, including Tyrone Frith, Ivar de Vries, April Karlsvad, Michal Nitsio, Thomas Hintz, Michal Nitsio again, Haniel Sabdi, and Kevin Ryan. So Kevin Ryan was a back of the grid penalty, and that explains why he didn't set a lap in qualifying. I don't know why I didn't see that. I'm loving some of these messages that are on the disciplinary page. Someone's someone's been a bit creative in the race director's booth. I think I have a good idea of who that would have been as well. On April Carlsbad's penalty for a start, there's the message: "Tut tut, April. Very disappointed in you for this despicable crime against the GPVWC rulebook. Smiley face." And for Thomas Hintz as well. Sorry, Hinsey. And then the sort of 3 smiling face as well, if you know the one I'm talking about. That's quite funny actually, and I'm pretty sure I know who said that. They're yeah, laughing about it in the chat at the minute. I think I was very much right. But anyway, good to have that sort of humour in a race director's booth. Of course, I know the drivers see the race directors as sort of, you know, like going scuba diving and then seeing a tiger shark when you get a penalty after a race or a qualifying session. But it's good that we have such a dedicated group of race directors and stewards here at the GPVWC who know the drivers well and well, are very, very consistent, I should point out. I like how strict we are about the track limits rules in qualifying, and how rather than some drivers getting away with it and other drivers pointing at them and saying, well, they can do it, why can't I? It's very, very consistent. No one gets away with it, and as a result, all of the drivers respect, or at least try to respect the track limits, and no driver really protests too much when they do get a penalty from it, from what I've seen so far. But anyway, so just less than, or just over than 4 minutes left in this this brief warm-up session now before we can go to the start of the 1 hour 30 race. Again, about the length in terms of time as a Grand Prix. There is going to be a Grand Prix at this circuit later this year, of course, the Japanese Grand Prix. I think that's in September from what I can remember. Although plenty more Grand Prix to come before that one. I do like Suzuka, very, very iconic circuit. It's an older one, came into racing in Grand Prix for a start in the 1980s, and has been a very consistent member of the championship since then, and very good for GT racing, for touring car racing, Japanese Super Formula races here, Japanese Super GT races here. It's all a well, it's a real driver's circuit. A lot of drivers say that if they wanted to have any circuit in their back garden, if that was possible, they'd have Suzuka. Just watching Alan Turtich going for a spin off into the gravel there. So 2.5 minutes remaining in the little warm-up session. The drivers are just getting used to their setups for the very last time, just feeling how the car's going to feel at the start of this race, having a little bit of extra practice. No one will be going for proper hot laps. They'll be, well, at this stage you can't really focus on things like making the tyres last, because you simply can't drive for long enough, and it's only later in the stints when the tyres really start to drop off. It's kind of like a snowball effect with tyres. But this is just sort of getting the feeling for how the cars are going to be at the start of the race. It's not unusual to see drivers going for practice starts as well, lining up on the start-finish straight and going for practice starts to make sure that they are well aware of how the car's going to feel as they're pulling away from the line. And great news, Downforce UK has typed in the YouTube chat that Jake Sanson will be racing today. Looks like he'll be starting from the back of the grid, but he will take the start, and that's fantastic to hear, because the more the merrier in a race like this. We have a packed field of GT cars, and with another Bentley starting towards the back of the field, it's going to be an even better, an even an even richer field of racers here today. Jake Sanson, very enthusiastic about his racing. Of course, one of the biggest commentators in sim racing, does the Super League Championship along with Joshua Anderson, and has actually just started working for the Force India Formula One team as a narrator, doing various things around the UK. And also likes a bit of racing as well in his spare time, a bit of simulator racing. Very much like me, actually. Well, don't we all? Chris Shepherd has just topped the warm-up session. It's come very much, or very nearly, to a close now. Of course, the times that we're seeing now are not representative. They're not qualifying laps, and they're not exactly. Well, they don't have any effect on the overall order, so it doesn't really mean much. But Chris Shepherd sets the pace for now, out of Ryan and Schumler. And the real story of this race is going to be all about. It's going to be all about the Bentley of Kevin Ryan coming from the back of the order, fighting through the field hopefully, and we'll see how far up the field he can get, because of course he's won both of the races so far this season. We've seen he's a very good driver who's really got the hang of that Bentley, but due to a penalty after presumably cutting the track limits in qualifying for Bathurst, he will be starting right down the back and has a lot of work on his hands. And this is a real opportunity for drivers such as Risto Capet and Arne Schumler to see if they can close in the championship and get a little bit closer to the championship leader, or pass him. Remember, because the points go up to I think it's 25 points for a win, and the top two drivers are separated by 25 points. So Risto Capet could take the lead of the championship today from Kevin Ryan. Arne Schumler can get within 1 point of Ryan. A reminder again, it's Ryan at the top of the championship table, followed by Capet, Schumler, Barclay, Lopez, Milan, Costa, Terzic, Bogarts, Shepherd, and then Franchik in 11th. Points go down to 15th position here, so if you finish in the top 15, you score points which go towards the Drivers' Championship. The higher you finish, the more points you score. And then at the end of the season, the driver with the most points wins the championship. There are going to be 8 rounds this season. This is round 3, so we're nearing the halfway point of the series. And in the YouTube chat, I see we have Cenobite, a racing team of their own, who are joking about hiring Roberto Merri. So, well, I tell you what, it would be pretty funny if he did actually turn up to the next race. But yeah, I wonder how drivers like that would actually do in a series like this. We've actually seen sometimes that some real racing drivers who come to simulators don't actually do as well. I've spotted that a couple of times, especially with the younger ones. A couple of examples have just kind of come in and not really got up to speed with the simulator like they have done with real racing cars, and that is because you get a very different sort of feeling through the simulator. You get, well, of course, less feedback through the backside, and of course, your view's more stable and you can see less because you can't really look around as much, but then you don't have all of the forces exerted on your body at the same time. You don't really have to hang on for dear life as you're rounding a corner, and there's no danger of your head flying off. So yeah, it's very, very different to real racing. Some drivers say it's harder, some drivers say it's easier. It's really a matter of opinion and feeling. Of course, Dennis Lind's quick, whatever you put him in. But Lind not here today. Only tends to do the Australian rounds of the World GT Series. A real Bathurst specialist he appears to be. Although didn't have the greatest of results at the end of last round, dropping to 11th at the end, I'm afraid to say. after running up the front for a large proportion of the race. I can't exactly remember what happened to him. So the warm-up session has long come to an end, and we're now just getting the drivers in position and waiting to go to the race session, where we can start to get the drivers onto the grid before the warm-up lap, the formation lap, and then away for the start of the race. And here we go. So the 90-minute timer is being prepared. We've got 1 minute until the formation lap. A reminder of the grid: 38 drivers now. We had 36 in qualifying, I think, but we've recently gained a Tyrone Frith. I don't think he did qualifying. I knew he had a back of a grid penalty, and a Jake Sanson, of course, who's just got everything fired up in time. I think it's actually Cameron Brewster who wasn't in qualifying, because we've got a couple of drivers with penalties behind him. I don't think Brewster did qualifying, but anyway. The order is Chumblay at the front, followed by Caput, Shepherd, Barclay, Caruso, Angeloni, Milan, Franchik, Kumar, Lopez, Kasdorp, Bogarts, Schultz, Veit, Potters, Brugman. Very funny that Potters qualified ahead of Brugman. Maybe a little bit of rivalry there, but I can't imagine Potters would be too disappointed if Brugman finished ahead of him, seeing as Brugman is racing for Potter's own team, even though they're in different teams, but Potter's still racing for Aurora. And then it's Delos Rios in 17th, followed by Morby, Schrock, Bell, Long, Clip, Lepetit, Metcalf, Joseph, Acerclinth, Nichols, Helpap, Willis, Ruder, Brewster, Terzic, Carlsbad, Ryan, of course, Kevin Ryan, our championship leader. Someone has spun. Now, who was that? It's Acerclinth. So Jonathan Acerclinth has spun the Radical on the formation lap. Now, how's that happen? I'm going back to a replay of that. Oh, it looked as if he had to swerve the wheel to avoid Brett Metcalf, who was going slower than he thought. Obviously, just misjudged it, and he's locked up the front right and just spun it around through one of the YTF1 boardings. That's a bit embarrassing there for Jonathan Acerclinth, but he's got it going again and should be able to start from his normal grid slot. Behind Kevin Ryan, our championship leader, starting in 34th. He has a lot of work on his hands. Is Michal Nizio, and then Tyrone Frith, Lazaros Philippakos, who hasn't made it out of the pits, nor has Jean-Pierre Helpap. So Helpap, who was due to start 28th, still in the pits, and Lazaros, who was due to start 37th, also still in the pits. And then Jake Sanson starting from the back of the order after missing qualifying due to technical issues. So Arne Chumblay leads them around in the Mercedes. 3 Mercedes were in the top 4 in qualifying, but one of them has dropped back due to a penalty. Now, who was that one? I'm trying to figure it out as Jonathan Acerclinth makes up his rightful position again. I think it was... I'm not entirely sure, but anyway, you see the cars getting into 2x2 formation here. Mercedes, McLaren, Radical. As down straight we go towards 130R. They're going to maintain in these 2x2 formations throughout the chicane, through the final corner, and then when the lights go out, they can accelerate away and start this race. It's going to be Chumblay and Caput on the front row, and that Mercedes has a lot of grunt, so they might well be able to get ahead of the McLarens, or stay ahead of the McLarens heading down into turn 1, but the McLaren is so light, they corner very, very well. And the Radical is very much in the same boat, maybe not on power terms with the others, but anyway, round the final corner we go, and towards the start, and Chumblay has taken off. There was absolutely no hesitation there. They were already in single file formation before they'd even crossed the line. And away we go with Chumblay at the front of the order and Caput in second. Chumblay leads it into turn 1, followed by Caput, Shepherd, Barclay, Caruso and Milan. So It's Mercedes, McLaren, Radical, and a couple of drivers swapping positions in the mid-pack. We've got Alistair Long in the barrier, I'm afraid to say, so one around already. And a couple more drivers dropping down the order. Jake Sanson has been over the grass, and Philippakos and Helpat both started from the pit lane, of course. And Fabian Ruder's had a spin, so the Callaway Corvette has gone round. That was after contact with Matt Clip there. But up the front of the order, it's still Chumblier leading from Capit, ahead of Shepherd and Barclay. And then the two Radicals, that is the Radical Works team, of course, the Epic Racing team, Radical. Or Radicals of Caruso and Milan. Behind them, Angeloni, Franchik, Kumar and Lopez make out the top 10. A couple of drivers running slightly over the grass at the hairpin there. But it seems like everyone's got through that sector of the track clean neatly. Gap to the lead still about half a second, and Capit might well be in Chumblier's slipstream as we head down the start-finish, or not the start-finish straight, the straight before 130R this time around. But it's a difficult place to overtake. You need to be a long way alongside the car ahead to get ahead here, and Chumblier keeps it ahead, even though the gap is only 0.3 of a second, so it's very close between Chumblier and Capit. Into the chicane we go, and out towards the final corner. There's the two IDOS cars making progress with Bell and Potters both passing. That looks like passing Mark White there. White goes a little bit sideways and someone's going a bit squirrely. I think that's Miguel de los Rios in 20th position, getting squirrely mid-chicane. Surprisingly clean first lap. Couple of cars spun at the start, but we have come to expect that. And apart from that, we've still got all 38 drivers running in this race, and the gap after the first lap from the lead is 0.6 of a second between Chumblier and Capit, ahead of Shepherd, Barclay, Caruso, Milan, Angeloni, Franchik, Kumar, Lopez, Bogarts, Kastorp, Schultz, Potters and Brookman. Those are the top 15. Looking down the order, the top, well, every driver about half a minute, well, separated by about half a minute. Last place has just changed hands as Fabian Ruder has just got past Jake Sanson, so two drivers who were involved in little incidents at the start of the race, but both still running. And now look at the long chain of cars heading out of the hairpin. It's a difficult track to overtake at, not really that many opportunities here, and the drivers need to just hold behind and make sure they don't make many or any mistakes, which would let the car behind go through. Bit of a lag spike there, but we're okay. Down the back straight, they're all still very, very close. The top 8 drivers separated by less than 5 seconds. That's amazing. And the top 14 separated by less than 10 seconds still. That's fantastic to see. It's an extremely close field here, an extremely large field with 38 drivers in the race. Oh my word! We've lost Kevin Ryan! Our championship leader is out on lap 2 of the race. How's that happen? I'm just going back on the replay. It's, well, he's got over the gravel, spun the car to the inside, and maybe he's just lost the engine because it's all cut out. And that's a weird one because he didn't appear to have done anything that would naturally have cut out the engine. There was no double downshift, but whatever the case, our championship leader is out of the race on lap 2. That's ridiculous, and a big shake-up as Lopez runs wide. Lopez in 10th position is now dropping down the order to 12th. Lost a place there to Bogarts and to Kastorp, who go up into 10th and 11th positions. Lopez just seemed to go wide slightly at turn 1 there, and of course there's no bringing it back once you get it onto the AstroTurf, so wider still he went, but back on the road he goes. But absolute drama in the championship. Kevin Ryan out of the race on lap 2, and Mark Veit is having to pit, so Mark Veit possibly involved in an incident. He's pitted the car and is dropping to the back of the order so far. And that, of course, is going to fall into the hands of Risto Capit, who, at this stage, if they finished in this order, I know it's a very early stage, but if they finished in this order, would take the lead of the championship. No, he wouldn't. because Chumblier is 6 points behind Capet and would actually score 7 more points at this rate. So Chumblier would take the lead of the championship by 1 point from Capet. It's a real championship leading battle now between Chumblier and Capet. So what you're watching isn't just the battle for the lead of the race, it's the battle for the lead of the championship now that Brian's out. And this is going to be a cracker all race long. I can just sense it. With Chumblier leading from Capet, and the gap has come out to almost a second now. So Chumblier running away with it a little bit, but still plenty of time to go. Kieran Parkin reporting that a red radical just turned right at the hairpin. Now the red radicals, of course, are the racing team Schroten cars of Roy Schroten and Philip Morby, and I don't know exactly how or if it was one of those two. That's just a report, or who it was out of those two, if it was either of them. Just saw the two yellow radicals getting a bit close down into turn 1 with Angeloni and Franchek not far behind them. And Niels Brugman now has got up into 13th ahead of Peter Schultz, so a good start to him, and he's made up another position. Those are the two teams I raced for there, or have raced for, out of the teams in this series. We've got Rowan GP and formerly IDOS, Schubert Motorsports there. Little bit of bias, but anyway. Up the front of the order, the leaders have been separated now by over a second for the first time. So Chumblier checking out a little bit here from Capet, over a second ahead now, but it's still close for second as the McLarens lay in wait. And to be honest, it's close. It's still close for the top 4 as the McLarens are not letting those Mercedes get away. And even though I said Chumblier is checking out, you can still see just how close the gap is. One mistake from Chumblier gives the lead to Risto Capet. Depends on the severity of the mistake, but that's certainly how it seems at the minute. As down the back straight we go, over the bridge, and the gaps have stayed very much steady at the front there, with Shepard still chasing Capet. And I tell you what, Osvaldo Angeloni ran slightly wide there. He's chasing Bois Milan. He was very close to him in the last checkpoint. It seems that the closest drivers at the front here appear to be the two radicals, followed by Angeloni and Franchek. But Angeloni made a slight error there. They're going to be with each other again, heading down the start-finish straight this time. But I don't think anyone's going to be quite close enough. It's a difficult place to overtake, as the turn 1 is quite a fast one, double apex. You can really sort of feather the car in, and that makes overtaking there difficult. Really, one of the main overtaking spots of the track would be the hairpin. And also Degner sometimes can be a really interesting one, but only sometimes, as I see something's happened in the chat there. Some people are saying April with a sad face. I'm just going back on the YouTube chat to see what happened there. Oh yeah, there was contact there between that's April Karsvard and one of the radicals, Jonathan Aceklin, who has actually crashed out of the race, so he's out. That's a shame for those two. April Karsvard still running, but Aceklin unfortunately hasn't. Lost a rear wheel on impact with the barrier. A reminder that as a commentator, I don't get the images that you're seeing on the screen. Those are streamed to you by Argo Tida, the cameraman. I've just realised I forgot to introduce Argo, actually. I'm your commentator, Joshua Penny. Argo Tida is your cameraman for today. Sorry for forgetting you there, Argo. But anyway, so that's where you get your footage from, and he follows what I'm saying often, but can go off to spectate other things, and quite rightly so. But it does mean that I don't always pick up things as they're happening. Meanwhile, Risto Capet has brought the gap in to 0.8 of a second now, again on Chumblier, so maybe going for another charge is Capet. Dropped to a second behind before, but he's really under pressure now. He's in an attack or be attack situation with Shepard. Right behind him, look, there's a mistake. Chumblier runs wide and spins the car very nearly. Gets it back on in second position. But does he hold it from Shepherd? He does, but he has lost the lead of the race there, and that means Capit takes the lead of the race and provisionally the championship as well. So drama now on lap 5 of the race, lap 6 of the race rather, as well, let's see that from Chambly. Just sort of, well, I saw on the entry of the corner he was already facing sideways, just sort of possibly left his braking too late, and as he got over the curb there was no stopping it. We saw that from Lopez just now as well, very nearly spun the car and lost the lead to Risto Capit in the other Mercedes, the ACR Zaxby Mercedes. Of course, the two of them are not Mercedes, or not teammates at Mercedes rather. We're used to seeing two Mercedes drivers running away at the front of a completely different field, but of course these two not teammates. Capit racing for ACR Zaxby, Chambly racing for Adonis, and Chambly will be hoping to launch an attack straight back at Risto Capit now. He will not be happy about losing the lead in that manner. Just went for a cheeky drift, says double downshift. Yeah, I'm not sure that was intentional, but certainly pretty pretty entertaining. Good old Minecraft tyres, he says. That's actually really good. Of course, relating to the way the tyres will be absolutely square after a big slide like that. As Mike Bell has just been passed by, or has just tried to get past Peter Schultz actually there, and has not quite been successful just yet. That's for 13th position. And second place got very close there, heading down towards turn 1, with Shepherd being registered as just 0.3 of a second behind Chambly. So really not much of a gap there. And that's absolutely slipstreaming range in one of these cars. Of course, in a single-seater, we're looking for them to be roughly a second or less than a second behind the car ahead, sometimes even less than that. But in a GT or a touring car, it tends to be about half a second. Mike Bell did have a go at Peter Schultz there, heading down into turn 1, but messed it up a bit, locked up the tyres really quite badly, and made contact with the front end of Peter Schultz's car. They both ran wide. Somehow didn't lose more time than that. They didn't lose any positions in the process. Got back a little bit from Niels Brookman ahead of them, but no actual positions lost, and they're very lucky at that. There was slight contact. Hopefully there's no damage. There shouldn't be. It was a small bit of contact. And still, the top 3 drivers separated by less than a second, 0.3. That is how close we are at the top of the order, and we'll see an update of that gap as we go down towards 130R this time. That is an extremely close race, whichever way you see it. And it's still, yeah, as we go through that checkpoint as well, it's still the same. 1.2 separates the top 3. It's Capit from Chambly, from Shepherd, and behind them the rest of the points paying positions are made up by Barclay, Caruso, Milan, Angeloni, Franchik, Kuma, Bogarts, Lopez, Brugman, Schultz, Bell, and Kasdorp. Those are the top 15 drivers who will score points if they finish like this. I expect the first of the pit stops will start to come in at about 50 minutes through this race, unless someone's going for an earlier strategy. I think 40 minutes is probably the earliest we'll realistically see them. Of course, you do have to make a pit stop in this race simply because the fuel tank isn't big enough to last the entire thing. And now Lopez and Brugman go side by side down into turn 1 for 11th position. Lopez defends and keeps ahead of Niels Brugman for now. I'm sure those two drivers have been close for a while, but Brugman had an attack there. Didn't quite manage to make it stick on Lopez, and Lopez maintains the position for now as the top 3 drivers are separated by less than a second. This is brilliant. I really shouldn't be taking my eyes off the leaders here, because while they haven't exactly been racing wheel to wheel, side by side, they've been racing bumper to bumper, and any mistake, as we saw from Chambly, gives a place to any of these other guys. Oh, contact! Bell and Brugman, Bell and Schultz rather. Bell and Schultz very, very close, as Kasdorp now gets involved and gets past Schultz on the exit of the Degners. very opportunistic as Schultz was held up slightly. And look at Terzic. That was a really, really ambitious dive. Very well done from Terzic. And Schultz is just dropping down the order. He's out of the points paying positions now. And now I switch my attention quickly back to the leaders again, and dancing up and down the order as they head down the straight, and the gap still about a second between the lot of them. That's amazing. Shepherd running slightly over the curb on the outside there, but these three drivers in a proper horn-to-horn battle. And Nico Barclay isn't really that far behind them. 3.4 seconds behind is Barclay in the other Stax racing car. Stax, on average, will score the most points of any of the drivers today, or of any of the teams today, rather, if they finish as they are, with third and fourth positions. Good performance so far from Stax. They also do very well in the Formula Challenge Championship with Chris Shepherd and Adrian Campfield, also very quick. Well, Campfield also another very quick driver. Shepherd racing in this series as well. Latest retirement, Michal Nizio. So Michal Nizio has become our latest retirement in the McLaren. And that has been a spin. Where's that? That's at Spoon. So he's had a spin at Spoon. He's gone over the curb on the outside. I don't know what he was doing in gear 1 there. That might be a glitch. No, it does appear that he was in gear 1 going through Spoon. And that's surely not right. It looks... No. Something's stuck on my screen, surely. It wasn't going in gear 1 at 130 miles per hour. That wasn't right. But anyway, got on the curb on the outside. The front end of the car bounced around. Spun the car around. And I believe that might have just clogged out the engine, and that was it for Michal Nizio. So here's our third retirement from this race, as, we just had a spin from, and that's a proper clonk into the barrier from Jake Sanson. So Sanson, who was running 35th, has been into the barrier and has actually lost his front splitter in all of that. So does he pit as a result? He was out of points anyway, but that's just going to be an added an added problem. I don't know what I was trying to say, hamperness. But anyway, Sanson into the pit, and well, he's one of two drivers who's a lap down, as well as Mark Veit, as David Nichols retires from the race. So David Nichols, another retirement. Oh, that's another one of the radicals. That's another one of the satellite racing radicals. Of course, Jonathan Asington retired earlier, so both of the satellite racing cars are now out of the race. He just sort of touched the grass going through Dunlop. Actually, a weird place to lose it. It was on the exit of Dunlop, and speared into the barriers really quite badly, and he gave up on the spot. That was that. I think his engine conked out. So he becomes our fourth retirement here. Fifth run. No, it's Jake Sanson. He's another retirement. So Sanson obviously has had enough. And after all of that hassle about actually getting into the race in the first place, has retired the car. That's bad. Bad to see. And he will be furious. Now at the front of the order, Chamblier right up with Shepherd, and Caruso's out. They're dropping like flies. And Caruso, who was running in 5th position, is our latest retirement. He's had, well, what's happened to Caruso? I'm trying to find it on the replay. He's conked out. That's not a spin or anything. He's just conked out going into turn 1. Was that a double downshift? Yeah, it's a double downshift. He's gone from 4th to 2nd, and that's out of the race. So. Unfortunately, Matteo Caruso was running really well up in 5th position, has become our 6th retirement, and, well, the 4th in as many laps. Wow, that's big drama there, with drivers dropping like flies, and now Chamblier actually had a little look at Capit for the lead of the race there, and now as we head down the straight, he's right in attacking range. Right in the slipstream, and does he go for it into 130R? This would be an absolute Alonso manoeuvre. Decides that discretion is the better part of valour there, which is a very overused saying, but a very truthful one. And now, who's going to come out of the of turn 1 ahead? Because that's where Chamblier made his mistake before, and they've actually got a car. It's a lap coming up. Hopefully he plays ball. That's Lepetit. Still no attack from Chamblier. He's had a couple of attempts. well, a couple of little looks. They've all been speculative so far. No proper attack. And Capit's still holding on. And after 10 laps, Capit's still leading the race quite comfortably here. It's Capit, followed by Chumblier, Shepherd, Barclay, Milan, Angeloni, Franchik, Kumar, Bogarts and Lopez. Those are the top 10. With Niels Brugman right on the back of Lopez, as he has been for pretty much the whole time. Even going through the S's there, almost touched him. And out of the way of the leaders now does get Lepetit. That's good to see. So Lepetit not getting in the way of the rest of them, as Tyrone Frith has a run through the gravel at the chicane. He was fighting with Philippakos, and there's been contact between the two. Philippakos just drifting out slightly after going over the curb. Frith not quite seeing him there, and the two of them just kind of came together. They were racing for 27th position, and Frith has lost 1 position in all of that to go down to 29th, and he's now going to be in the gravel again, actually. So he's locked up at turn 1 and gone very wide. Through goes his teammate Brett Metcalf, and Frith now drops to 30th position, so not the greatest of sectors of the race for Tyrone Frith. And look at Chumblier, absolutely glued to the back of Capit, as he has been for this entire time since Capit has got through, and Shepherd right with him. Again, the top 3 drivers separated by less than a second. Probably even less in the braking zones. And now they're separated by 0.8 of a second exactly as they head down the start-finish straight. Surely someone's going to go for a move here. They're absolutely together, and still they don't. Surprised by that. Wow, what a race we're witnessing up the front of the order here, with the top 3 drivers. I do want to be looking at the chat more, but I just don't want to take my eyes off the leaders here. Just briefly, Downforce UK says game over for Jake Sanson. No practice and no quali meant no feeling or belief in the car, coupled with no setup. I didn't stand a chance, says Jake Sanson. May have to call it quits in 2018 and return next year. Well, that's a big shame. Of course, Sanson a very busy man, so a lot of the time getting practice in for a commentator is very difficult. I know the feeling. Over these last couple of days, I probably only had about half an hour practice myself with a couple of races coming up. But it's just something you have to sort of get used to. And unfortunately, Jake Sanson out of the race after we saw that unfortunate incident at 130R. All his own doing, of course, but still unfortunate to see a driver retiring from the race. And now again, Chumblier has a slight look into the second part of Spoon. That's still a battle that could go the entire way. Pit stops will be coming up, not for a little while, so we still get a chance to a chance to follow this battle for as long as it goes on for. And I was just looking at the stream actually, which is slightly delayed, and Chumblier really got very close to Capit into 130R that time. Again, didn't quite see that in time, but as we head down the start-finish straight, again the 3 of them are separated by just the same amount as last lap. And again, there's no move. How close can they get? Terzic and Kastorp are side by side for 12th through the chicane. There's slight contact between the 2 of them, heading out through the final corner. Terzic gets forced wide. Look at Mike Bell coming through in the Rowan GP car. He gets absolutely snookered on the inside line with Kastorp right there as well. Doesn't really have to lift off though, and Terzic actually slots in between them as Brugman gets past Lopez just ahead of them, and they both run off. So Lopez and Brugman both run off, but Brugman goes worse off and comes out behind Lopez. So Lopez gets 10th, and out of the battle behind them, it's Kastorp followed by Bell, followed by Terzic. So battles wherever you look in this order. That's fantastic. You don't know where to look on a day like today. Absolutely fantastic. And race director Alex Skinner types, right, for SL Super League, I'm adding landmines at 130R. Yes, probably wise for the the track limits excursions we tend to see in any series at 130R. And Epic Racing now confirms that Matteo Caruso did double downshift, and that was the end of his race, which is a big shame. But that was it, I'm afraid. That was 5th place down the drain. Of course, the team still has 5th place in the form of Boa Milan, but of course they don't get the dream 5th and 6th they were heading for. And now Fran Lopez and Niels Brugman still battle. They went side by side through spoons. By side, I mean that the game registered Brugman as being ahead for a slight moment there. That's a battle that's not going to be resolved for a while. And they're going side by side into 130R. This is very brave from Niels Brugman, who has to lift off, of course. And Lopez gets it a bit squirrely there. And in the background, Castor, Bell and Terzic again almost side by side. We've got a 5-way battle for 10th position here. Absolutely amazing. As they head down to turn 1, Lopez goes very, very defensive. Doesn't want Brugman to get an inch of extra, or a mile per hour of extra top speed, a tenth of a mile per hour of extra top speed from slipstream. And he keeps that. And I keep switching back to the leaders. I'm so sure that something's going to change up the front very, very shortly. I don't know which of these 3 drivers is going to make the move or the mistake, or which of them is going to swap with whom, but something is going to happen. They've been running nose to tail for so long that surely they can't keep it up for much longer. Brugman has now got past Lopez, again heading down into the 2 Degners, as Angeloni and Milan go side by side for 5th. Milan keeps it for now, but Angeloni again, well, that's another battle we have to look out for. Another one. Oh, and Shepard's in the gravel. Actually, dipped 2 wheels over the gravel there on the extra spoon. Hasn't lost much time, but it's dropped him slightly back from the Mercedes. That's giving Chumblier a little bit of breathing space for now. But Chumblier still has to think about attacking Bristow Capet. It's a battle that still isn't looking by any means resolved. And it's still Capet leading from Chumblier, Shepard, Barclay, Milan, Angeloni, Franchik, Kumar, Bogarts and Brugman now. The top 10. And the start-finish straight again. The gap for the lead, 0.5 of a second. The top 3 again separated by 1.3 seconds. Fantastic to see. Milan and Angeloni also bumper to bumper going into turn 1. Franchik and Kumar very close. Bogarts running very much on his own in the other Simtech car. His teammate, of course, already out of the race. And here comes that 5-way chain. Lopez actually having a look at Brugman. Darts to the inside for 10th position. There's contact. And around goes Brugman. So, they've come together. Now, surely we saw that coming. Brugman backs it into the gravel. Gets it going. Does he? No, he's retired. He's lost the engine. So, Brugman, after all of that great battling and all of that great running to run, unfortunately, is out of this race. He got tagged into a spin and obviously just couldn't reach the clutch in time and has lost the engine. Well, he actually... Oh, he switched it into reverse and then tried to switch it back into gear 1 again. I reckon it was after switching it into reverse that he lost the engine. Lopez possibly a little bit ambitious, but I think he got himself enough alongside run. We'll see how the stewards judge that. But Fran Lopez tried to wait for him and then realised he wasn't coming back onto the track and lost even more time. He's now coming under attack from Tristan Pottas for 14th position. The 2 Corvettes going at it. And a big shame for Niels Brugman, who had been racing so well, to get past Fran Lopez after such a great battle. But it's all come to blows, I'm afraid to say. And he's out of the race as Tyrone Frith goes for another spin at turn 1. He's been having a bit of a dog day. Yeah, spins it around at turn 1, just too much speed in. And the rear end came around. Mark Veit has a bit of a slide. He's going wide at spoon. Just kind of looking through the order to see how everyone's doing, and we've had another retirement. It's Fabian Lepetit. So Lepetit, who we just saw getting lapped a couple of laps ago, is now out of the race, and it's been a crash. He's lost it in the S's. This was on lap 12. Lost it midway through the S's and went into the inside barrier, losing his front right wheel, which went over his roof, and out of the race went Fabian Lepetit. He was running in 30th position at the time, so didn't exactly lose any points from that, but still a shame to see any drivers retiring from the race. And now still the leaders, 1.2 seconds separating the top three again. They're getting even closer as Shepherd closes back in after his mistake earlier. He's not given up yet, and nor will he, I'm sure. It's been a move. Schroten and Long are side by side for 20th. I think that's Long attacking Schroten, because I'm sure Schroten was in 20th before Long was having a look at him, but didn't manage to get through there. It's an ambitious way to do it around the outside of the S's, and it doesn't tend to work. He certainly had an attempt. And again, Chimblier close to Capit down the straight. Been saying this so many times, but look how close they are. 1.6 seconds separating them. And Miguel de los Rios has just passed Philip Morby down into the hairpin. It's now right on the back of Tristan Potter, setting about getting into the points for 15th position there in the second ACR Zaxby car. As we head down the start-finish straight again, the top three separated by 1.1 seconds, so definitely Shepherd catching again, closing right back in again. It's amazing how closely these three can follow in a GT3 car. I race GT3s and I always find that it's extremely difficult to stick within a second of the car ahead, but these drivers doing it so well, they can fit three cars in the same second, and that's not just briefly, that's for laps on end. Potters and De Los Rios again side by side. De Los Rios has to concede the place for now, as I've got a bad case of hiccups. And Morby is having a look at him, going down the start-finish straight. Pulls out of the slipstream. They go side by side towards turn 1. I think Morby's going to get this around the outside. He's in the lighter radical. And De Los Rios holds it on the inside. They bang wheels. Well, Morby's being forced a little bit wide there, and Brewster might have a look. Someone went a bit sideways in the background. I think that was a lapped car. It was actually Mark White. And now the top three are within the same second again. 0.8 of a second apart. Utterly fantastic racing again from these top three drivers. This is how they were before, and somehow no one can make a move. Capit is driving an absolute defensive masterclass, just not giving an inch to Arne Chumblier, not making any mistakes. Chumblier had the opportunity to, but did make a mistake. Capit has not done, and is leading the race after 33 minutes of driving. Through the chicane we go. Chumblier still right on the back of Capit. Shepherd still right on the back of Chumblier. And Nico Barclay still poised and ready to pounce. Across the start-finish line, still 0.3 of a second separating the top two, 0.7 of a second separating the top three. And again, no move. How? How are they still holding on? It's a true masterclass from all three of these drivers. If I'd been in any of their positions, I'm sure I would have run into someone by now. Chumblier especially, because Chumblier is so close to the back of Capit, right on his bumper. They need to brake at just exactly the same time. Chumblier is slightly before Capit due to the accordion effect, and somehow still not make contact. And that has been what Chumblier has been doing so well. And Shepherd somehow doing exactly the same thing on the back of Chumblier. They say the hardest car to pass is one of your own kind. And that is what's being proven now by Xunglei, who we've seen one of the quickest drivers on the grid, qualified pole for this round, but hasn't been able to get past Risto Caput. Ooh, just look back at the, I just had a look back at the YouTube stream and saw Long finally getting past Morley, and there was a bit of contact in corner. Brussels asks, are they going to need to pit at all, or is this just a sprint race? Well, the cars have, well, there are varying different fuel tank sizes. It tends to be about 120 litres they have, which can get you normally about an hour. And this race is an hour and a half. So yeah, they will have to make a pit stop in this race. Of course, I don't think it is technically mandatory because you don't have to change tyre compounds. But in terms of the actual fuel, the drivers will need to refuel at some point in this race. And it would probably come, well, I'm expecting the first in about 10 minutes. It'll be pretty strategical to pit earlier though. Just sort of get on the fresh rubber. It doesn't really matter too much in this car, fresh rubber. I've actually found that at some tracks the car gets quicker the later in the stint you are, because the tyres take such a long time to get heat in them. That's what I found with when I've had experience of racing GT3s. It's an odd one, and it doesn't usually happen, but it can do sometimes. But yeah, these tyres just don't really lose that much pace at all throughout the stint. You can still set pretty much the laps you set at the start of the stint at the end. Maybe a second off, but that's really not that much in the grand scheme of things. And for the first time in a very long time, the top four are now separated by less than 3 seconds, with Nico Barclay really catching in on the back of Chris Shepherd up the road. So it might even become a four-way battle for the lead before long, and that would really be something. It's already been quite something as a three-way battle, but as a four-way, that'd be just thrilling. They've got a car to lap coming up on the track. That's Tyrone Frith, who we've seen having about 4 or 5 little offs so far this race, but he's still running, and good that he can keep going there. Kieran Parkin has made a bold prediction in the YouTube chat. He says front runners will probably double stop. Now, I don't think they will, but maybe someone will do it strategically. I don't think so, but we'll have to see. Marcel Offermans has offered another interesting prediction, that no one will even take tyres. And of course the advantage of that is that a pit stop where you don't change tyres is quicker than one where you do. As I'm looking back at the YouTube stream now of Yuri Kasdorp running wide at 130R while battling with Alan Terzic, who did make the move stick. But I do think that they will probably change tyres just to... well, I don't think anyone's going to have good enough tyres to go the whole race. Mine tend to be on about 30% remaining after a 1 hour stint. Kevin Ryan has just confirmed, of course Kevin Ryan, our championship leader so far, who unfortunately retired due to an engine failure on lap 2 of the race, says it's worth it to take tyres, but then you have to pass people. And that is the case, of course, because you drop back due to the nature of tyre strategies. You get the quicker tyre for the second stint, and that's probably worth it. But you do then drop back a bit of time, so it's probably a risk for a car to not take tyres. But I'm sure some of the drivers further back in the order will be trying that. Possibly some of the front as well. Yeah, Kevin Ryan just confirming that a downshift caught him out. That's a big shame there. So early in the race as well, didn't really get much chance to attack. Oh, talking of attack, I'm just looking at the leaders again. Oh, we're side by side for second, and Shepherd gets it. I reacted to that late because I was looking at the YouTube chat, but Shepherd has held on and has got up into second place, has got between Chumblier and Capet, the two Mercedes. I'm just looking back at how that happened. It looks as if Chumblier made a slight mistake in 130R. He was actually defending from Shepherd down the straight, and Shepherd just lifted off slightly as Chumblier had a bit of a slide, and Shepherd was able to just brake later and get through into second into the chicane. And that's what we've seen so far from Chumblier in this race. He's been very quick at times, but he's made some slight errors which have cost him these two positions. Well, they're few and far between, but the mistakes he's made have been picked up on. And into the pits comes Mike Bell. I said that the first stops would tend to come in at about 40 minutes through the race, and they have done, as Mike Bell and Lazarus Filipakos are in the pits. These are our first pit stops, which I reckon are scheduled. Haven't seen any accidents from these guys. And now the gap for the lead is 1.2 seconds. But, of course, we'd have expected Shepherd and Chumblier to have dropped back slightly due to running side by side and neither of them taking the optimum line into the chicane as natural when racing. So, well, we've seen that Shepherd can catch up to Capet. He's been doing it the entire time, and he's possibly going to do it again. But look at Chumblier actually having a slight look into Spoon there, trying to unsettle Shepherd and get him off the optimum line so that he has a bad exit to the corner. And Chumblier might have an attack here down into 130R. I don't think he's got a good enough exit, actually. Looks as if he might have one, but doesn't appear to have done. Oh, he might do, actually. He touched the grass slightly there, heading down towards 130 up. He stays behind Chris Shepherd. There's some moving going on. I think Philip Morby's just had a spin, actually. Yes, he has. Philip Morby, who was running in 50th position, fighting for 14th with Tristan Potters, has actually... Well, he's misjudged his braking and gone very wide. Oh, and Delos Rios has spun in the process as well. So it looks as if Delos Rios just spun in sympathy, in avoidance possibly. And Delos Rios is now running 18th. Morby is now running 17th. And Potters maintains 14th there. As Turgic and Kasdorp go side by side out of 130R. Turgic on the inside. Oh, they bang wheels going into the chicane. Turgic keeps 10th position there. This is a battle that's been going on for a while. Turgic keeps it as Bogarts is in the pits. So Matthias Bogarts pits from 9th position. And the gap for the leaders went across the line there, was actually 1.5 seconds. It's come out slightly. Wasn't really expecting that. Battles going on all the way through the order here. You don't know where to look. Second has to be a good one. Chumblier still hasn't given up on Chris Shepherd, and Shepherd is actually possibly backing him now into Nico Barclay, and I don't think that's deliberate because Shepherd knows he can go for the win here and doesn't want to lose that much time. But he certainly does appear to be helping Barclay a bit. In fact, Barclay is now within a second of Chumblier, so definitely now a four-way battle for the lead of this race, I'm sure. If it wasn't already, with Chumblier still behind Shepherd, as Turgic and Kasdorp again go side by side. That was for 9th there. And Turgic keeps it for now. Of course, it's 10th effectively, but due to the pit stops, it's 9th now as Bogart's pitted. And they're side by side again through Spoon, with Turgic on the outside, Kasdorp on the inside. Terzic's going to get the better run out of the corner. They're going to be side by side heading down the back straight now, heading towards 130R. It's usually the car on the inside that has to give way here, unless there's enough alongside. Neither wants to give room. They're side by side through 130R. Turgic has to run over the curb. Gets a bit squirrely. Keeps it within the track limits somehow, and still up the inside. If he holds on to this, it'll be a great move. There's a bit of tyre rubbing, but they both hold on, and somehow Kasdorp is still ahead as Turgic gets the switchback and goes to the inside. Fabian Ruder emerges from the pits. Someone else is in the pits as well. That's Brett Metcalf. And Turgic again goes to the outside of Kasdorp around turn 1. And look at that. Both apexes, but he's gone a bit sideways, but he's pulled it. Great move. Fantastic. And Tristan Potter's pits. Now Bottas has been having a great race so far. He's found a lot of pace in this car recently. He was running 14th, but he's in the pits now, as is Mark Veit. So as I was expecting to happen, there are cars pitting about now in the race. So still 30 cars running. It's a decent grid. We started with 38 and there's 30 cars running in this race now. Still the battle is between the top 4 drivers for the lead of this race. Who will stop? Who will pit first? And Brussels comments, how did they not die then? Well, I'm really not sure. It was very, very close. Incredible. Also in the chat, Alex Skinner says, this is mental, and Double Downshift says awesome. And indeed, it is both mental and awesome, this race so far, with the top 4 drivers separated by just over 3 seconds, and with battles wherever you look in the field. Milan and Angeloni is one that's being shown a lot on the stream at the minute, with Angeloni not quite being able to get past Milan, and Franchik and Kumar are still right together, as they have been for the entire time as well. The order is Capit, Shepard, Schumblier, Barclay, Milan, Angeloni, Franchik, Kumar, Kastorp and Terzic. Those are the top 10 drivers. Kastorp going very defensive from Terzic, pulling right over to the right-hand side of the track, not giving Terzic any slipstream that he can afford not to give away. We are just over halfway through this race now. 45 minutes would have been the halfway point. We are now at 47 minutes through the race. And again, the leaders are separated by less than a second. That has not been the case for a while, but now they are. So Capit's struggling again. And will any of these guys go for the undercut? April Carlsbad pits now from 17th position. As does Tyrone Frith. Oh, he's out. Tyrone Frith is actually out of the race, I'm afraid to say. So after I've just said that we haven't had a retirement in a while, Frith is out. He seemed to drive the car back into the pits and then just retire it. So no accident or anything like that. It seems to have, well, it's registered as suspension damage, so maybe it was just a variety of accidents. And out of the race he has gone. Still none of the guys right at the front of the order have pitted just yet. We're just coming up to lap Ben Willis for the second time in the Bentley. Willis not getting the hang of that Bentley, I'm afraid to say. A former GPVWC Super League driver is Ben Willis, but maybe not quite so quick in a GT car. Still pretty formidable driver comparative to some others that I know, but about to be lapped for the second time. Top 3 again separated by less than 2 tenths of a second. Who's moving through the order? Well, there's a lot of drivers who are stuck behind the cars in front. Oh, huge crash! Kastorp, who was running in 10, has lost control of his car and has hit the pit entry wall very, very badly indeed. He's out of the race, and that's a bad thing to see because Kastorp fought so well to get past Lopez, and what's happened there is he's just put the power down too hard while he's still on the curb going through the final corner. He's lost control of the car and hit what they'd call the attenuator, and has properly smashed in that car. Engine gone, and out of the race goes Yuri Kastorp. That's bad to see from such a high-ranking driver who is out of the race now. And I'm sure Milan and Angeloni just went side by side there. Caught it out in the corner of my eye, but still no move from Angeloni. He's really struggling to get past Milan, but he's now on the inside for the second part of Spoon. This is a good opportunity for him, a very good opportunity. In fact, oh, if he hadn't had that little wiggle there, he's still wiggling. If he hadn't done that, he would have been through by the exit. They're still side by side for 5th position, heading down the back straight. Tristan Potter's in the distance, is actually giving Milan more of a slipstream than Angeloni, and Milan stays ahead for now. and somehow they got away with that. Angeloni was fighting the car throughout the whole of Spoon there. It was a good save. And start finish straight. There's another car in the pits. It's Jean-Pierre Holpart. He was running outside of the points. Of course, the points go down to the 15th driver, who at the minute is Philip Morby. No reverse grid in this race, of course, like we see in the other series, because there simply is no second race, just like in the Super League Championship. So it is all just about scoring points in this race here. And Chris Shepherd is properly attacking Risto Capit. He's now within half a second of him. It's the closest he's been to him all race. I don't even think he got this close to him at the start. Oh, bit of a slide out of the hairpin there from Chris Shepherd. Won't have cost him too much time, but every little helps in this series. That's given Capit a tiny bit of breathing room, a tiny bit more than he would have. Still, we haven't seen any of these top drivers pitting. The top driver we've seen pit so far was Boogert, who was running in 9th position. He's in 17th minute. But of course, pretty much everyone ahead of him we're still yet to see stop. And still at the front of the order, the gap is 0.6 of a second, but for the top 4, 3.1. Very, very close. Top 3, 1.1. We're still close between Milan and Angeloni. No move coming there just yet. That's another one which is extremely close. I think Chamblier is closer to Shepherd than Shepherd is to Capit due to Shepherd's mistake coming out of the hairpin. It really does prove that a mistake you make half a lap ago can still affect you now. I think Miguel de los Rios just had a spin. Yeah, he did. In fact, he placed the barrier. That was just coming out of the hairpin. And he touched the barrier slightly. It wasn't really a clout, as into the pits comes David Franchik from 8th. So Franchik pits from 8th position here. And it's all going to be about where he comes out compared to Matthias Boogert. They were running quite close together on the road before the pit stops. But remember, Boogert has had the fresher tyre, and if he could have made advantage of that, then he might well have just jumped ahead of David Franchik. We'll see when Franchik exits the pits. So Franchik currently in 12th, going past him now, Philip Morby. And Chamblier taking an attacking line. Actually has a look to the inside of Shepherd there. It was only speculative still. Now Franchik gets going and Boogert is already through, so Boogert has extended his gap to Franchik there. Or has passed him rather, so Boogert indeed has jumped Franchik. They were the other way around before the pit stages, and that is the advantage that Boogert had of pitting earlier. The trouble with that is that he now has to run a longer distance on those tyres, unless he's double stopping, but I wouldn't expect anyone to double stop in a GT car. It just doesn't tend to happen in GT racing. Unless there's some sort of mechanical or accident related issue. And for the first time in a while, the top 2 drivers separated by over a second. And into the pit comes Nico Barclay, who was running in 4th position. So Barclay pits. And the top 3 guys are left to themselves for a little bit. So, just looking in the chat, Kawayuri 28, that'll be Yuri Kastorp, says my rears were like wets, but yeah, my rears were like wets. I had it coming. My rears had no grip anymore, like 200 degrees. That'll be 200 degrees Celsius, very, very hot temperature. Almost went a couple of times. Then I went into the wall, got suspension damage, and then out of the last corner into the pit entry wall. So maybe there was an accident before that we didn't see. But anyway. Oh, and Alex Skinner's picked up on my every little helps in this series comment and said, welcome to the GPVWC World Grand Tesco Championship. So, yeah. Tesco, of course, for the international viewers, is a supermarket whose motto, or slogan, I should say, is every little helps. Into the pits now comes Miguel de los Reos and Cameron Brewster. They were running in the points. And now they're not anymore, but when we all filter out, they might well be again. Nico Barclay, interestingly, has got himself some clean air on track, exactly how he wanted it. He's in 8th position at the minute, but of course effectively still 4th, as none of the top 3 have pitted yet. And of course everyone will have to pit in this race. You'd have to be running half throttle for the entire race not to have to pit. Chris Shepherd now pits, so the McLarens have decided to pit before the Mercedes. Chris Shepherd is in a lap after Nico Barclay, and he will be stopping in his box. We're 56 minutes into this race, and there he stops. So the Mercedes are left to themselves for a bit. And Osvaldo Angeloni has a look at Boa Milan heading down into turn 1. It was only a look though, no real attack. That's for the that's for 3rd position for now, but of course neither of those drivers have stopped yet, as drivers around them have. That's a battle which has been raging for a very, very long time. Alan Terzic now pits as well in the Mercedes, which has been in all sorts of different races so far in this race. So many different battles so far in this race, I should say. And in as well comes Fran Lopez in the Street Fighter Racing Red Bull liveried Callaway Corvette. He stops the car in his box, briefly overtakes Alan Terzic, but Terzic will get going before him, providing nothing goes wrong. And still Angeloni's having looks at the at getting past Boa Milan at pretty much every opportunity. Still no room to get through though. Again, it's extremely difficult to follow in these cars and even harder to overtake. And we've lost Lazaros Filipakos. Now I'm just going to look back at the replay to see how that happened in the other downforce Bentley. So a terrible day for downforce, losing both of their drivers. He spun the car in the S's and that would have just lost the engine. Yeah, obviously didn't hold the clutch in time, and oh no, he did still have the engine. Maybe he just gave up. I'm gonna have a look. Yeah, he still had the engine, but well, for some reason he's out of this race. So Filipakos becomes oh, how many retirements is that? 11th retirement. So a real attrition-packed race so far. And into the pits has come Capit, Chumble, and Angeloni. So 3 of the top 4 drivers on track there have pitted now. Now, just reading what Lazaros Filipakos said in the chat, he said, "And I am out. Tired of this game sometimes. Was having slowdowns all race. Windowed 1280 times 780. That's how low I went. I don't exactly know how low that is with my limited computer knowledge, but it sounds bad. Unfortunately, he's out of the race now. And for now, Boa Milan has inherited the lead of the race from Naran Kuma, because those are the 2 drivers up front of the order who are yet to stop. Capit has got out ahead of Shepherd and Barclay. In fact, Shepherd's quite a while behind Capit here, so Capit has really got himself some breathing space here. Obviously a quicker stop. I wonder whether Capit is double stinting those tyres, because that was a much quicker stop from Capit. And that means there's a long way to catch for Shepherd, over 4 seconds. I wonder whether Capit's double stinting those tyres. So that could be something to look out for later on in this race, if Capit's tyres suddenly start to go off. And now we have a whole heap of drivers in the pit. Schultz, Long, Joseph, and Morby, and actually Schultz and Long are teammates there, so I don't actually know if they were supposed to have stopped. Oh, and actually seems to me like Long got held up there because he's only just been able to go forwards into his pit box. So obviously he had to wait for his teammate there, and that's bad timing from the Schubert, the newly renamed Schubert Motorsport team. So a bad pit stop there, which is a big shame, but sometimes these things happen if there's a lack of communication and the drivers pit on at the same time. As Mark Veit's had a crash. So Mark Veit has just, well, he was running 26th, he lost it in the S's. We've seen a couple of drivers doing that, and he's been into the barrier, but he's got going he's got going again, hasn't lost a position from it. The driver behind him is Ben Willis, who is actually another lap down according to the leaders. Talking of the leaders, into the pits come Milan and Kumar, so they have stopped, and the rightful lead goes back to Risto Capet, ahead of Chris Shepherd by 7 seconds, so it's even more of a gap than I thought, ahead of Nico Barclay. And where is Chambly? Now Chambly is 7th. Now what's happened to Anne Chambly, who has dropped down the order, as in a very long way down. Now, somewhere, Chambly has lost a lot of time. I'm not sure if someone spotted that and I didn't, but somehow that seems to be it for Chambly battling for the lead of this race, and I'm not sure at all how that's happened. Just going back on replay to see if I can spot anything obvious. But all of these leaders are pitted now, and Chambly appears to be several positions down. He pitted on the same lap as Capet, and well, I'm still looking at the replay here. Capet just got going a long time before. Chambly was in the pits for a very long time. That will be damage repairs. So obviously Chambly maybe forgot to cancel damage repairs, or maybe went for it strategically. But whatever the case, Chambly is now running 6th, and well, effectively 6th. There's no other way about it, unless all of these other guys ahead of him have all double stinted their tyres, and Chambly is the only driver who's changed tyres. But that wouldn't explain why Shepherd would have lost so much time to Capet. If anyone knows, it would be very good to hear how that's happened in the YouTube chat. Alex Siebel says Chambly is the only one who seems to have tyres changed. Yes, that's what I thought, but why, in that case, has Shepherd lost 7 seconds? Yeah, changing tyres appears to, yeah, it's slow, as a lot of people in the chat are saying, and I know that, but why has Shepherd lost time to Capet if it is that Chambly was the only driver out of the top 6 who changed tyres? Well, it's a bizarre one, but anyway. Yeah, possibly with refueling, says Alex Siebel. We're actually side by side for 9th position there, between Franchik and Bogarts. It's actually 8th now as Matthew Klipp pits, so Klipp, one of the latest to pit. Franchik and Bogarts get, well, they make up that position. It's Franchik 1 position ahead of Bogarts, so he's just taken it actually, because Bogarts came out of the pits ahead. And now I think the real battle at the front of the order is this one between Franchik and Bogarts for 8th position. Of course, it's not over yet at the front. Still definitely room for the change between Barclay and Milan possibly, and then also between Angeloni and Chambly possibly. Chambly, I'm sure, will be charging on those fresher tyres. But for now, up the front of the order, it seems like the main battle is that for 8th. Just looking down the order as well, we've got a good battle between Joseph, Potters and Carlsbad. Potters has dropped about 5 positions in all of this. I wonder whether he changed tyres. And Help Up not far behind that battle either. 27 drivers still remaining in this race now. And Chambly has really been catching Angeloni, so really Chambly's tyres appear to have been possibly a good call. They certainly appear to be the tyres to be on now, but will they be advantageous enough to get Chambly up to where he was before? Or has he just shot himself in the foot here? We'll see. Can he get past Angeloni down the straight this time? I don't think he's close enough, as we see Willis defending from, or no, getting out of the way of those guys up ahead. And Chumblier does go for the dive on Angeloni and gets it done down the inside. Good move from Chumblier on Angeloni. So Chumblier now up into 5th position, and the car ahead of him on the track is about 7 seconds up the road. It's Boy Milan in the Radical. So there's our change for 5th position. I expected it would come. I didn't know how quick it was going to be. Although Chumblier has pulled a good move very, very quickly. And now Angeloni's already dropping back. He's already over a second line, obviously regretting not changing tyres, I'd say. Just looking at the chat again. Yeah, Alex Siebel said it's with refueling, so the longer you can go, the faster you are. Like back in 2000's F1 races. Well, that does seem to be possibly what happened, but yeah, because of course Capit pitted after Shepherd, but surely it wasn't 6 seconds that was changed. Cenobites reporting that Arne won 1.6 seconds on the last lap. I take it that means on Angeloni ahead of him, who is now behind him. So great performance from Arne on the softer, or the newer tyres. I also see a battle on stream there between Carlsbad and Helpout. Helpout is ahead for now. So yeah, just reading the chat. I struggle to read and speak at the same time, but yeah, Simracing Rick says the car gets significantly harder to drive as well with old tyres. They do indeed. The car just starts to understeer on the entry to the corner, oversteer on the exit to the corner, and that can lose you sometimes about 2 seconds per lap, maybe even more. But yeah, that's what we've seen witnessed with Chumblier, who is now already just 5 seconds behind Milan ahead. In fact, just 3 seconds behind. So Chumblier really is eating time out of Milan. In fact, his last lap was a whole 3 seconds quicker. So indeed, Chumblier absolutely rocketing up to Milan, and it might well be that Chumblier does end up catching up to where he was before with Barclay, Shepherd and Capit, but it's all about whether he can get past Barclay. And of course before he was running in 3rd before the pit stages, so if he could get up to 2nd it would have been advantageous. Now what's happened here? Shepherd is dropping. Shepherd's dropping! So Shepherd has just lost 2 places. He's dropped, well, he was running 2nd, he's dropped back to 4th. Now how's that happened? He's had a spin. Shepherd has had a spin at Spoon. He's got over the curb and slid the car around, and through has gone his teammate Nico Barclay, followed by the Radical Boy Milan. So the Radical is on course for a podium here as Shepherd makes a mistake, and he's now really not that far ahead of Chumblier, and that really shows what we've been saying about older tyres being harder to drive, because Shepherd has spun the car around and is now down into 4th position, being attacked by Chumblier. So Chumblier gets over the grass on the inside of the corner. That's a really aggressive line there. Through the S's. Right on the back of Shepherd ahead. And after the pit stages, the order is Capit, Barclay, Milan, Shepherd, Chumblier. Chumblier had a slight look there, but it didn't quite pay off as Mike Bell's had a spin at 130R. Well, it's not exactly a spin, he's got very, very sideways. running out and over the escape road. Lucky not to spear back on into the path of Peter Schultz. And Chumblier has not got Shepherd yet. I thought he had, but I was looking at the wrong thing. He hasn't quite. And look at Milan. He's actually going under attack from Long, who is a lap down. In fact, Long's outside a long way outside outside of the points. I wonder whether Long's got fresh tyres there. I might actually be able to pass Boer Milan as Chumblier and Shepherd go side by side. Chumblier has the inside line and gets Shepherd. So 4th position now goes the way of Von Chumblier, and it might actually turn out to be the better strategy to have pitted, or to have changed the tyres there. Shepherd certainly having another look, but I don't think it's going to pay off. He knows that he's not going to finish ahead of Chumblier now, but he wants to hold up Chumblier more for his teammate's sake, Nico Barclay, because he knows that Barclay will be in the same boat. And Chumblier, although he's 15 seconds behind the leader with 20 minutes remaining, could still win this race. It all depends on circumstance and how the leader's tyres do go off. His last lap, of course, was slower because he was stuck behind the McLaren. But his lap before that was about 2 seconds faster than Capet's. Oh, and Long's gone off. So Long, who was having a look at passing Boer Milan, unlapping himself to Boer Milan, has... Oh, it looks as if he's got out of the way of Chumblier. That looks deliberate. It looks like he's got out of the way by running through the gravel. Well, if it's the only way you're going to do it, then it might as well be that. At least you're getting out of the way. Chumblier has already caught Milan. The gap is less than half a second, so Chumblier, on his charge back up through the order, is right on the back of Boer Milan's Radical. If Chumblier makes up one more position, he'll be back in the position he was in before. Of course, effectively, he'd be in second now due to Shepherd's mistake. Chumblier still 4th for now. Dives up the inside of Milan. That was easy. And Chumblier gets 3rd position for now. And the next car up the road, of course, is Nico Barclay for 2nd. Chumblier is absolutely flying here. To an extent where I estimate he'll catch Capet on the last lap. Of course, it depends whether Capet drops tyre life or anything like that, but it could definitely be a very exciting close to this race. And if Chumblier wins this through strategy, it'll be a very, very well-deserved win. It'll also be very, very well-deserved win if Capet wins it, because that would also have been through strategy and through holding on to dying tyres. As Barclay laps Ruda. And Chumblier already 2.8 seconds behind Barclay. He's really catching. An unstoppable force at the minute, but will it be enough to catch Capet after that? I have no doubt he's going to catch up to Barclay. Of course, passing him's another thing, but if he does, it's going to be all about whether he can catch Capet. Whether Capet makes a mistake, it's going to be difficult. And the order after the pit stages is Capet, Barclay, Chumblier, Milan, Shepherd, Angeloni, Kumar, Franchik, Bogarts, Terzic. Those are the top 10. Going through the rest of the point scoring positions, we have Lopez, Brewster, Schultz, Bell, Clip. Oh, Clip spun. Clip is off at 130R and gets it going again. Kind of flicks it across the track again. Oh, he's actually had a big hit into the wall. What's happened is he got over the exit curb and the car's just sort of looped around and he's had a huge hit into the wall. I'm very surprised the engine didn't conk out there. I'm surprised he didn't lose a wheel. Oh, he's out. So indeed, he has got too much damage, and out of the race has gone Matthew Clip, our latest retiree. He was running in the bottom end of the points in 15th position, but obviously has just retired from the race after spinning many, many times after hitting the wall, and that puts Miguel de los Rios up into the last points scoring position now, ahead of the drivers who aren't currently in the points. Philip Morby, Roy Schroeden, Tristan Pottas, April Karsgaard, Jean-Pierre Helpap, Paul Joseph, Fabian Ruda, Alistair Long, Brett Metcalf, Mark Veit and Ben Willis. So that's that. And Chris Shepherd is now right on the back of Milan. So maybe Milan has been dropping off even more than Shepherd with his tyres. And as Kumar and Franchik go side by side, Franchik gets 7th there. But it's all about 2nd and 3rd, and then 4th and 5th as well. 7th and 8th close. But the real battles are a couple of positions up the road. Shepherd again taking that aggressive line we saw from Capet just now, dipping 2 wheels over the inside line. Not Capet, Schumble. Hello, we have Rudy Van Buren in the YouTube chat. That's very good to see. Rudy Van Buren, of course, actually commentated on the round at Sepang alongside James Kirk, who I also see is in the chat. Hello to both of you. Of course, Rudy Van Buren, the world's fastest gamer, so certainly someone who knows how to drive one of these cars, or knows how to drive a car full stop. But anyway, back to the race. Already, Schumble has caught Barclay. He's within a second of him. The battle for the 2nd is now separated by less than a second, and it's right on. And look at that aggressive-looking Mercedes on the back of the McLaren. It really does look like predator and prey when they're in this order. And that's indeed what it looks like it's going to be. Schumble getting very close down into the braking zone. He does go to the inside. Barclay's going to have the inside for the 2nd apex, and he keeps it for now. It was an attempt at a move from Schumble, but he couldn't quite pull his car enough alongside. Gets a good run out of the final corner though. They're going side by side down the straight. This is for 2nd position overall and 2nd on the podium, and Schumble will have the inside line. This will be it, I think. So Schumble up into 2nd. Does he get it slowed in time? Yes, he does. Great move. So Schumble on the fresh tyres up into 2nd. He's now got 13 minutes to catch 11.5 seconds and pass Capet. This could be doable. This is a proper shootout, and Capet has to be wary of it. He's setting lap times which are slower than Schumble's by about a second or 2 seconds per lap. So, well, seeing as a lap takes just about 2 minutes, I don't think Schumble is quite going to get it at this rate. It would need Capet to make a slight mistake here. But I tell you what, it seems that going onto the fresher tyres has indeed been the beneficial strategy from Schumble. And what a performance it's been. And a good performance as well from these drivers on the older tyres. Maybe it wasn't the ideal strategy, but they've held on to it. Shepherd had a spin, but apart from that, these guys have been holding onto their tyres very well up the front of the order. 26 drivers remaining in this race, coming towards the end of it. 20 drivers still on the lead lap. The next one to be put a lap down is going to be Jean-Pierre Helpap. He's in a very close battle at the minute with Tristan Potters and April Carlsford. And Risto Capet not far behind them, coming through to put a lap on them. Again, Milan and Shepherd still close for 4th position. They've been close for a little while here. No opportunities have really arisen yet for Chris Shepherd, but maybe one will occur quite soon. Just joking in the chat about Risto Capet. Rudy Van Buren saying he's never heard of him before in his life, which of course is a blatant lie, seeing as they were teammates for a season. Rudy Van Buren says, where is Hani, meaning Hani Al-Sabdi, and Kevin, meaning Kevin Ryan, I assume. Hani Al-Sabdi didn't race, he wasn't here from the start. Kevin Ryan blew up an engine on lap 2. It was very, very unfortunate. And I've just seen on the stream as well, out of the corner of my eye, a battle lower down the order. Who was that between? That was between a Mercedes and someone else. I'm being very, very descriptive here. That's why you hire me as a commentator. I think it was between De Los Rios and Morby, maybe? Or was it Potters, Helpap and Carlsbad? I'm really not sure. But anyway. Again, Milan and Shepard are close. Very close. As they head through the second checkpoint, the gap is less than 0.3 of a second. That's one that could definitely still change. Meanwhile, on Chumblay update, we have 9 minutes to go and less than 9 seconds to gain. It's definitely looking like Chumblay will catch Capet, but passing him is another matter. Now Shepard is right properly so much in the slipstream of Milan that Milan felt he had to go slightly defensive, but Shepard actually goes slightly to the outside now, pulls it out going towards turn 1, but he's never going to hold it around the outside there from that far back. Now as we head into the S's, Milan still has that position. The Radical looks so stable through here. It's not the most powerful of cars, but around the S's it's so sort of light and agile, but then again McLaren is as well. The Radical, of course, never a fully homologated GT3, always tending to be slightly slower, racing the International GT Open slightly, or sometimes. Meanwhile, Miguel de los Rios has made a mistake and has given Philip Morby 15th position and the last point scoring place, as Peter Schultz and Fran Lopez have switched places. So Schultz has got up into 11th ahead of Lopez, who drops to 12th. Chumblay within 8 seconds of Capet now. It's close. He seems to be gaining about a second per minute. Still doesn't appear to be enough though. Oh, crash! Oh, Schultz and Lopez. So two of the Chevrolet Callaway Corvettes have been off, and they've been into the wall on a straight actually. So possibly a bit of foul play going on. Oh, I tell you what's happened. Well, just looking at the replay, Schultz was driving his normal line and Lopez just drove straight into him. I will see what the stewards say about that, but that's certainly what it seems to be. And Schultz will not be happy about that in the slightest. My goodness, that's a very unusual one there, with them both getting tipped off and Schultz actually fighting the barrier and very nearly taking out, who was that? That was Mike Bell. He almost took off as he rejoined the circuit. So that was a bit messy, and Philip Morby now right on the back of Peter Schultz, possibly going for a move. In fact, Schultz has had a big swap coming out of the second Degner, and Morby is going to be up the inside going into the hairpin, and he gets it. That's for 13th position. It's amazing to see so many battles still going on this late in the race. Someone's just ran wide at turn 1 there. I think it was Potters. Nope, I think it was Ruder. Yeah, it was Ruder, who's just given the place up to Alistair Long, the 22nd rather, still outside of the points though. Took 17 score points as a reminder. And now Milan really not letting Shepard get away. So if there is some sort of mistake from Shepard, Milan will be right with him. Out of the hairpin we go. I should remind you that the battle up the front of the order is still going on, and it's not just for the lead of the race, it's for the lead of the championship, because whichever of these two drivers, Capet or Chumblay, finishes ahead, if they finish at the front of the order, whichever of them finishes ahead takes the lead of the drivers' championship here. So everything up for grabs here, and Chumblay is driving like a driver out of his wits, and rightfully so. He'll only have one attempt at Capet here, providing Capet doesn't make an error. And he needs to make it count. If there's any mistake from Chumblay, then the race is over for him, or the lead race is over for him. He is driving qualifying laps at the minute. And the gap is 5.3 seconds with 5 minutes to go in the race. Wow, he's really, really catching. His last lap was, well, let's see. Yeah, almost 2 seconds, well, over 2 seconds faster than Capit's there. That just proves it. So, Chambly really putting the hammer down. And I'm expecting the next lap to be the penultimate one. So really not much time left to go in this race. And Capit will be willing away the time rather. And Chambly will be willing his car on. Oh, this is very, very tense up the front of the order. And I tell you what, the battle for fourth has got closer again, as Osvaldo Angeloni has caught up. So Milan's been holding on to Shepherd, and now Angeloni's caught them up again. And if you remember Angeloni before, he was right on the back of Milan. He's right with him again now. So that's another one that could change. Quite possibly. There are quite a few battles you can see aren't quite over yet, and that's great this late on in the race. We are 86 minutes through, so that's an hour and 26 minutes through. Out of an hour and 30 minutes, so very, very near to the end of the race now. Really not much time left. As De Los Rios gets passed by Lopez, or tries to get past Lopez. I think this is a battle for the last points paying position in 15th. And now, as we head out onto another lap, the gap between the leaders is 4 seconds with 3 minutes remaining. I don't think Chambly is going to do it unless there is a mistake from Capit, who's got battling backmarkers ahead of him, and that's always scary because neither of them wants to give way, of course. Being in a battle of their own, it's Carlsvad and Helphap. Oh, they're really holding him up on the apex here. Carlsvad needs to lift off. Now that's going to cost Chambly time, and he will be fuming. Absolutely fuming. Of course, I don't know how Capit got how well Capit got past them, but Chambly has got the worst of it. I'm sure he'll be complaining about that after the race, with Carlsvad getting very much in the way there on the apex of the corner. Now Chambly has to get past Helphap. Yeah, there we go. Helphap moves out of the way, down into the hairpin, and now Carlsvad and Helphap can continue battling amongst each other as Chambly gets away a lap ahead, and Angeloni's got Milan. So Milan has had a big slide in the second Degner there, and 5th place now has gone the way. Oh, I think there was slight contact there. Was there? Oh yes, there was, as Milan was out of control and Angeloni couldn't quite avoid him, and actually Angeloni's lifted off. Now I wouldn't have done that in his situation. He's lifted off to let Milan through. He didn't feel that his move was fair. I think it was, because Milan was out of control. Angeloni was the innocent party there, but he's lifted off thinking it was unfair, and he's given the place. Now the next lap will be the final one, as De Los Rios and Lopez go side by side into turn 1 again, and De Los Rios gets it. 15th position, the final points paying place. On to the final lap. Chambly has not caught by enough, especially due to that back marker traffic. And the gap is 3.7 seconds, so unless Capit makes an error on this final lap, it goes his way. Chambly gave it his best shot, and it looked at times like he'd catch him, but didn't quite. What an end to this race that has been. As I've just seen Kumar and Terzic having a little slight coming together through the through Spoon there. Well, it was certainly a close one, but now it's gone the way of Risto Capit. Chambly is still pushing. He sees Capit in the distance, but it's too little too late, I have to feel. Angeloni's still on the back of Milan, and I've just seen a bit of a... Oh, Schultz and Morby are still side by side. That's for 13th place. Schultz will have the inside line for 130R here. Morby edges ahead, and who gives way? Oh, they both get forced wide, actually. Morby touches the grass. And, well, that's always going to happen, or is often going to happen through 130R there. The timer has ticked to 0. And now we've just got one sector left. Risto Capit before he wins this race. I think Chambly knows at this point that he just has to settle for second. It's disappointing. I don't think that those backmarkers did hold him up enough to say they cost him the race there, but they certainly didn't help. Oh, and Chambly actually had a big slide in 130R there, but he's gathered it up. And Capit now, Risto Capit around the final corner in the ACR Zaxby car takes both the win and the championship lead. Risto Capit leads the championship and wins the race. Arne Chambly is second after pushing brilliantly hard. The final gap is 2.5 seconds. Nico Barclay is going to come through into third position. So a very quiet but very good race from him there. Chris Shepherd in the second Stax Racing car is going to be fourth after his spin. Boa Milan is just about going to hold on to Osvaldo Angeloni, but look how close they were. Just over a tenth of a second between them. That was amazing. Between Milan 5th and Angeloni 6th. David Franchik is going to just about hold on to 7th position ahead of Turcic. And Turcic is going to, Terzic rather, is going to be 8th. Matthias Bogerts in 9th. It's been a bad day for the Simtech team. Kumar is going to be 10th. Miranjan Kumar. Cameron Brewster is coming around for 11th position in his Bentley. You can actually see his teammate up the road, but his teammate Ben Willis in the other Apex Motorsport Precision FX car is 2 laps down. Through the final chicane goes Brewster now, and he is going to hold on to 11th place. He's been driving well. He's been in the action at times. Bit of a quiet end to his race, but anyway, that's how the drivers like it a lot of the time. Mike Bell is going to be 12th position, so some good points for Rowan in their first race there. Would have been nicer if for them if Niels Brookman had finished the race as well, but sadly he was involved in an incident with Fran Lopez. Philip Morby is 13th, holding on to Peter Schultz, who I believe had some sort of spin on the last lap because he's dropped back a long way. Schultz is 14th. Miguel de los Rios claims the last point in 15th position. And just outside of the points was Fran Lopez after various different incidents. Roy Schroten, Jean-Pierre Halpap, April Carlsvad, Tristan Potters, Paul Joseph, Alistair Long, Brett Metcalf, Mark Veit and Ben Willis. And then out of the race we had about 11 drivers there. Let me count the actual number. Wow, I think it was 13. Hold on. No, I think it was 12. So 12 drivers out of the race who were Matthew Klipp, Lazarus Philippakos, Yuri Kazdop, Tyron Frith, Niels Brugman, Fabian Lepetit, Matteo Caruso, David Nichols, Jake Sanson, Niall Nizio, Jonathan Aseklin, and the biggest name possibly of them all there, Kevin Ryan, who was leading the championship going into that round, and unfortunately retired from the race on lap 2 due to an engine failure. Anyway, stay right there. We've got some interviews coming right up. So we're just waiting for a couple of drivers to come into the waiting room before we can get these interviews underway. Now I'm just looking through the chat for the post-race reactions. We've got Alex Skinnett saying fair play Angeloni. Very rare to see that. I take it that's all about Angeloni giving the place back after getting past Milan when Milan went out of control. It was a bit questionable and gave up that place for that. I wouldn't have done, but anyway. I indeed, says Epic Racing. Well, of course they'd say that, being Boa Milan's team. ACR says, yes, congrats to Risto on the podium. Yeah, great win for ACR Zaxby and Risto Capit. And Epic Racing. Way, nice one, Borja. taco time, he says. Great race from the Epic Racing team to finish 5th in that one. Would have been nicer if their other driver hadn't retired earlier on in the race, Matteo Caruso, but sadly had an engine failure. And Alex Skinner says, "Hooray, we finally get points." I'm going to ignore that word which followed finally. But you know, I understand how it is. I mean, the IDOS team, which is now known as the Schubert team, has been looking for good results for a while, and now finally they've got one with Peter Schultz finishing in 14th position. Anyway, first driver I'm going to bring in is going to be our race winner, and dominantly so, but it was getting a bit hairy towards the end there, and that is Risto Capit. Hello.
Hello.
So, Risto, it was a good race from your point of view. So you got past Chambly early. I take it that caught you a bit by surprise there.
Yeah, I almost followed him, but yeah, it was a good race. I was not the fastest guy out there. I was maybe the third fastest, but Shepard made a mistake in quali, and Arne made some mistakes in the race, and that's how it went.
And towards the end there, Arne was catching you by quite a rate there, catching about 15 seconds in 15 minutes. So surely that was a little bit worrying for you at the end there. Was there any point where you thought you weren't going to hold it?
Yeah, I was quite surprised at first when I saw that I left him behind in the pit stops. I thought he had a problem or something. I couldn't believe that. Well, I could believe, but I didn't think he would go to change tires. I thought it would take a bit more time. And when I saw the gap to guys behind was about 10 seconds, I just took it easy. And then at some point I saw that it was Arne behind me already, like 9, 8, 7 seconds. And then I had to start pushing again. I was driving about like half a second too slow. So yeah, I pushed in the end and I just got it. So it was quite tense, quite surprising in the end, yeah.
Well, it was a fantastic result. And with that, you've taken the lead of the Drivers' Championship. I mean, it goes without saying that that's going to be your aim, of course, first position. How do you think that's going to be?
Oh yeah, the championship title for me and HR's X-Speed is #1 goal. That's the most important. But yeah, it was interesting to see how this new guy, Kevin Ryan, will react to problems and pressure. It looks like he's not reacting to it too good. Broken his stride and his motivation maybe, so that's good. Keep going forward. I'll keep the pressure up, and we will see if he bounces back or not. He's, I think, faster than me, but yeah, let's see how he fares across the whole season. I think we can do it.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a close one. We can tell that now. So thanks for that interview. Very, very good driving.
Thank you.
Anyway, next we're going to bring in a certain Philip Morby, who scored his first points in this series today. So, Philip, points.
Yay! First time lucky. Yeah, it's been a fun season. Went the wrong way of setup in race 1. Had my force feedback reset in race 2. Bathurst. You kind of need the feedback at Bathurst, and then yeah, this one went well. This one was good fun. I mean, I'm boiling hot. It's really hot in England today, but yeah, some decent points.
It absolutely is. Yeah, and it was a 13th position as well. You were really fighting with some of those guys towards the end. You know, Bell, Schultz, Delos Rios. They were right around you.
Yeah, so, Bell kind of went on ahead at the start. And early on, I was stuck behind. Well, no, I wasn't stuck behind. I was behind. I think it was Matthew Klipp or someone. But then I had a bloody purple Mercedes lapped car, which ignoring blue flags for 3 laps really put me off. And then yeah, kind of pitted it for soft tyres, kind of just after the hour, and it was just blasted the softs around and see where we could get. And kind of, I was back down in 18th, thinking, okay, maybe I could try and nab a 15th at the end. Managed to nab it, then Klipp, I think, spun off at 130R. Okay, 14th. And then Lopez and someone else had a big hit at turn 1, I think, and got up to 13th. Then lost it in a very argy-bargy kind of way for 14th. So I kind of gave it as good as I got on the final lap. And yeah, managed to get 13th and 3 points. So I'll take that.
Well, fantastic. And hopefully you can keep that momentum up for the next couple of rounds.
Yeah, I'm up for that.
Fantastic. So next into the booth, we are going to bring
Surely just
someone who I forgot to mention I was going to bring in, which is why you just heard him speaking too early there. That was my fault. So that would be a Chris Shepherd. Hello, Chris.
right, how you doing?
Yeah, well, I've just seen a fantastic race, so of course I'm going to be doing well. Pretty eventful for you, I must say. For a start, before the pits, you were in a 3 or 4-way battle for the lead at times. Talk us
Yeah.
through how tense that must have been.
Well, it was great. I mean, similar to Bathurst, really, just sitting behind there, just braking before a little bit earlier, lifting, coasting in behind them. Just it's quite easy to drive. A nice drive, to be fair. But yeah, I don't know. Risto was slow at the start. I think he must have just been saving his tyres. I don't know whether he said. But just towards the end of the stint, he could just put a 10th or so. But that gap in the pits is crazy. That's what it made me lose my concentration, to be honest. Because when we come out of the pits and I see that I was a couple of tenths behind him, and then I'm 6 seconds or something, it just made me push, and I shouldn't have pushed because I was already on the limit. But yeah.
Well, what happened in the pits? Because I saw you lost about 7 seconds there. Was it just that?
No, that's what I think. I think the difference is for the different cars, the amount of time it costs, because different cars have different miles per gallon. So yeah, some have bigger tanks, some have smaller tanks. So that is the difference.
Yeah, I was wondering whether it was something to do with the refueling stage of it. But after that, you were again battling. You were probably hoping not to have been, though. What happened at Spoon?
I just lost. That's like I just said. I was just pushing, and I just lost the rear end. And I had such a loose setup, which suits my style in a rear drive, and I just lost the rear end. And when you lose it on my setups, you lose it. There's no getting it back. So yeah, I just lost it. Lost place to my teammate, which I don't mind. He got the podium, so I'm happy, man. Nico's a great guy, helps me a lot. So yeah, I don't mind. It was an all right race.
Unfortunate, but at least you had to. I mean, at least you got to attack Boer Milan again. But that was entertaining.
Yeah, that was fun. I do a lot of laps with practice with Boyer and all, so that was fun. I had a smile on my face when I was hunting him down. He was very fast, so it was hard. But the only reason I did it was because he made a mistake. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have got him. To be fair, because the one place I was trying to get him, he on the back straight, he had a great exit out of that corner. So yeah, that was good.
Well, yeah. Thanks for speaking to us. It was a great race, and a shame you missed out on the podium. But of course, your teammate got it. So
yeah, that's all right. It all probably stemmed from quali and all. I mean, in quali, I did because in Bathurst I blew my engine. Well, in quali here I blew engine again. I just had a double downshift and blew my engine on my final lap as well when the track was at its best. I was actually nearly 3 tenths up. So whether I would have held the lap together or not, or I probably would have got all scared towards the last corner and spooned it anyway. So, but what a race! Well done.
It's all about what you do rather than what you could have done, I'm afraid. But still, yeah, jolly good. Anyway, in next we're going to bring Cameron Brewster in the Bentley. So that was 11th place for you, Cameron. Are you pleased with that?
I'm absolutely knackered after driving past so many cars to get up there.
It was quite entertaining at times, yeah.
Yeah, I could have done with setting a qualifying lap, but computer crashes and stuff in qualifying meant I didn't get out. So the first kind of proper laps I had tonight were in warm up, and then just kind of try to stay out of trouble, see what happens, and made a few lunges and whatever, but managed to keep it clean and managed to look after the tyres somewhat.
Yeah, you were truly battling towards the end there. There were quite a few people around you. How did it look from your point of view? Were there any sort of scary stories you can tell from your race?
At the start, there were a few people I think who went for a trip across the gravel in the Degners, and then was a bit worried about being collected with cars coming on and things. But for most of the race, I think it was pretty lonely. And then towards the end, I think it was Schultz who came up behind me, probably on fresh rubber, and I could just see him coming. I just thought, no, not even going to fight that. And then, fortunately for me, him and Lopez collected each other into turn 1, which caught me by surprise. But yeah, on the whole, pretty normal race, apart from a fair bit of overtaking.
And how's the Bentley actually? Because a lot of people have been complaining about the Bentley and saying that it truly is like the Titanic. What do you think about it?
It is definitely a dog. Today it felt all right, but prior to qualifying, I had to dial out quite a bit of understeer, so it was quite a kind of pointy car, which isn't something that I normally go for. But it's just big and wallowy, which I guess you come to expect from something the size of a barge.
Okay, well, again, yeah, great race, and hopefully you can keep up the momentum for next time with qualifying, of course.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Cheers, guys.
Right, so that'll be the end of that broadcast today. I must say the race was very, very entertaining. Very much enjoyed commentating that one. To think that I wasn't going to be commentating World GT until 2 weeks ago, but anyway, that's the end of that one. I'm going to say thank you to Argo Tida, the cameraman, who of course followed my dancing up and down the order throughout the whole thing, and put up with my annoying voice, and also to the drivers that I just interviewed, because well, after racing that hard, sometimes the last thing you want to do is drag yourself into an interview booth and waste the last of the voice you've just been shouting your head off with. But anyway, that's the end of that one. So remember to tune into the career ladder races. We've got Formula Challenge coming up on the Tuesday. Stream probably starting up at about 7:30. So that's Tuesday the 24th. We've got Super Cup on the Wednesday, same time. We've got Super League on the Thursday, so it's a week from now, same time. And yeah, we will see you for any one or all three of those. So for tonight, goodbye.